Moving on, Taiwan has extended the current mandatory military service to 1 year from the present 4 months for people above the age of 18. President Tsai Ing-wen announced the decision earlier today, and this move comes in the backdrop of China's rising aggression, seeking what it calls Taiwan's reunification with the mainland. An extension of military service up to 1 year requires no related law revisions, so the government may comfortably implement this change.
那么现行的4个月军事训练役制度，在兵员的量能和训练的品质都已经无法因应迅速而且瞬息万变的战备局势，以及当前的战备需求。那么在经过2年完整的评估跟检讨，考量在新的战略架构的兵力需求，我们决定。
Now, a poll conducted by Taiwan Open Public Foundation reported significant support for increasing military conscription to 1 year. 73% of the people surveyed supported extending the mandatory military conscription in Taiwan. Taiwan has about 170,000 active military personnel. That's nearly 10 times less than China. Estimates say some 100,000 men in Taiwan turn 18 each year. 1 year mandatory military service may be used to bolster defense for contingencies. On Monday, Taiwan reported the largest Chinese incursion into its air defense identification zone. 71 aircraft entered the identification zone. 43 of them even crossed the Taiwan Straits median line, the unofficial buffer between the two sides. Taiwan's defense ministry also detected 7 Chinese naval ships near the self-governed island. China has said it conducted what it calls strike drills in response to provocation by Taiwan and the United States. Taiwan has extended the current mandatory military service to 1 year from the present 4 months for people above the age of 18. As per President Tsai Ing-wen, this decision was announced earlier today. The move comes in the backdrop of China's rising aggression, seeking what it calls Taiwan's reunification with the mainland. We're now being joined by Paul Huang, who's Research Fellow with Taiwanese Public Opinion Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast.
Thank you for having me.
My first question to you, how do you assess Taiwan's move to extend the current military service in light of China's recent activities over the Taiwan Strait?
Well, the extension of the military service has long been anticipated because it was shortened from 1 year to 4 months in 2017. And the 4 months military conscription training was widely deemed, including my own writing and research, that by many as wholly inadequate, and that's why after years of calling for reform and extensions, and the current government finally made a decision to extend it. But I think this is only one of the first steps that need to be taken to reform, strengthen Taiwan's military preparedness.
Right, and do you think Taiwan is well equipped at this point to deal with an increasingly aggressive China?
Well, I think no military in the world is 100% prepared for war because war is always uncertain. In Taiwan's case, I would say we are very far from being prepared. Many of the writings and research and from within the military that we know that there are a wide range of problems with Taiwan military's training, doctrines, organizations, and logistics, among other things. And these are not especially since we consider how China's military has expanded, improved over the year, the rapid pace of its expansion, improvement in quality and quantity, they just completely overtook Taiwan. And if Taiwan doesn't take its defense seriously to reform, then I think that we are not going to be able to have any sort of deterrence in the years forward. And that is why I think the extension of military service, that is what the experts, what the observers have been calling for. But it's only one of the steps that's needed.
Right.
We need to do a lot.
Right, absolutely. On that note, now Taiwan reported, as I mentioned earlier, largest Chinese incursion into its air defense identification zone. 71 aircraft entered the zone. 43 of them even crossed Taiwan Straits median line. Now, do you think, given the situation just across the globe in general, Taiwan needs to be extra cautious especially in the backdrop of the Russia-Ukraine war? And do you think Taiwan is particularly vulnerable at this point?
Well, certainly, because we know from open source information and from the U.S. Department of Defense, the China military report they just released a few weeks ago, that China's military today has significant edge over Taiwan's military in both quality and quantity, in firepower projections, and in other area that they have posed immense security threat to Taiwan. And if Beijing move to launch a war against Taiwan, no one can be sure what happened. But we know we're not ready. So at this point, I think what people say, like Theodore Roosevelt couldn't say, the speak softly and carry a big stick. I think that's what Taiwan should do to prepare its own defense and tune down the rhetoric about China, which the current ruling government, they over the year they have took a stance that is speak very hardly about China. I don't think they're very serious about defense preparedness.
All right, Mr. Paul Wang, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast with all your insights on this. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.